With all the upgrades that the New York Jets have made to their roster and the potential fall of the Buffalo Bills dynasty, is the AFC East once again up for grabs in 2024? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JetNation Live After Dark edition on a Friday after work. Dylan Terriman hosting with Chris Schubert. No Glenn Naughton tonight, but Chris, how we doing?
Listen, we have been attempting all week long to plan a show for the three of us. At various different times, all three of us have run into roadblocks to be able to get a show off the ground. Tonight, on a Friday, a rare day for us to do a show. After dark, you and I both just got done with work. We're on playoffpredictors.com. Chaos is about to ensue.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, which for this episode we highly recommend because it's going to be a lot easier to follow along. But yeah, full transparency, we tried on Wednesday. My power went out 5 minutes after I got home. Glenn, I think he did a solo show a couple days ago, so he did one just to fill in, but then he couldn't go last minute tonight. So we're here. We're with you guys, playoffpredictors.com. We're going to run through the entire AFC East. Obviously, we're going to start with the New York Jets. Monday night, kick us off against the San Francisco 49ers. We're traveling to the Bay. Chris, I want you to do the honors. I know we're going to probably form a consensus here on the show, and we'll probably have different rankings if we personally did it, but we're going to do a consensus here. So first game up, what do you think about the 49ers?
Yeah, if you're going to draw the San Francisco 49ers, if you get told that they're going to be on your schedule, this is probably the best place to draw them, the opportunity to prepare for them the most, right? The entire month of August basically is going to be spent game planning and preparing for this specific moment and this specific game. That being said, listen, the Jets have to prove that they're on this level. I know you can read all the stories in the world. I saw a story today on ESPN that ranked all 32 rosters in the NFL that had the Jets with the fourth best roster. Well, you know who had the first best roster in that story? The San Francisco 49ers. And you still have to prove it in a big game. You still have to prove that this team is ready to take that next step and be a primetime darling and be a team that can go into San Francisco and beat a perennial Super Bowl contender under Kyle Shanahan. So for me, while I think it'll be close, and while I think the Jets will be competitive and answer that question that they can hold up in these types of games, I do not see them winning in week one to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and the first point you alluded to was the amount of time that they had to prepare. And while that does make me excited because you need all that time to prepare for a team like the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan has just as much time to prepare
Right.
for the New York Jets. And that makes me doubly as nervous about this opponent. Honestly, I'd rather get them like coming off a short week in the middle of the season, but it is what it is. I think this is more of a ratings matchup more than anything. The storylines, I mean, they're going to connect Rodgers and the draft. Obviously, they took Alex Smith number one in that draft, and he fell to the mid-20s. Brees versus McCaffrey, I think, is a good storyline. Just like the sheer quality of their defenses is going to be fun. Like they're number one and number two respectively on most boards. You said it. They have the most the highest ranked roster. Excuse me, according to a lot of outlets. I think PFF had the Jets as like top duos and corners and linebackers, but the 49ers are right there with their D-line, their linebackers as well. So I'm going to have to agree with you. I think that the Jets do drop this one. I feel like most Jets fans have also prepared for this to be a loss, although some, we can hope that it's going to be a win. But I think most have come to terms that if this is the loss, that nobody's going to be upset. The sky's not falling. The media will say the sky is falling, but I think most of Jets fans would be level-headed after this one. Now, I will say on the flip side, as I picked the Niners, if the Jets do win, I will be saying 17-0 because if they can, get that monkey off their back first game and upset the 49ers, yeah, then we're going on a run. So I'm picking 49ers here. So are you. And then we're up week 2 at the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, look, this is a stretch of games where I think you're going to see a theme in the conversations that we have about the Jets. And it is there are favorable matchups here, and the New York Jets have to take advantage of them over the next couple of weeks. You drop one to San Francisco, and why that doesn't worry me as much is because of this upcoming stretch. Look, the Tennessee Titans are, I think, one of the worst 6 or 7 teams in all of football. I think they have a quarterback who I like in Will Levis, but he's entering year 2 and has a lot of growth that he needs to have. The receiving core is decent, although older. DeAndre Hopkins older. Calvin Ridley coming off a not-so-great year in Jacksonville. Tyler Boyd should be able to help round out that group. But again, it is a group that is, I think, okay, not necessarily great. Where the New York Jets are going to feast in this matchup is their defensive line against the Titans' offensive line. This is a mismatch. This is a Division I football team playing against an NFL team. I mean, that is how lopsided this is. The Tennessee Titans offensive line is a work in progress, and then they've invested first-round picks the last couple of years there. They are still probably 2 years away from having a complete offensive line that you can believe in. And so with that, and with what we expect this Jet defense to be, they're going to get after Will Levis. They're going to make it difficult for Will Levis. And sorry, Tony Pollard. Sorry, Tajay Spears. You are not going to be able to save Will Levis. So I think this is an easy. I know it's a short week. I know it's on the road. I know it feels very trappy. But to me, after losing on Monday night in probably what is a close game against San Francisco, I think there's a huge bounce back potential here in week 2. So give me the Jets.
Yeah, this starts the stretch of games where I'm just licking my chops for the defensive line. I feel like in the next 4 games, and I'm not trying to like skip ahead with predictions, but the next 4 games, if they came out with like 5 sacks per game in this month's stretch of games, I wouldn't be surprised. So for all the reasons you said, obviously I think Aaron Rodgers can take advantage of this defense as well, although they do have some pieces. The Jets have a bounce back game. Short week, but I'm going to give it to them 1-1. Now they're home. This is their home opener, against New England on a Thursday night, which I feel like, again, a ratings matchup early on in the season. They're going to put the Jets in prime time. I feel like they got the max again this season. So what do you think? Prime time against New England? Do they keep the new streak going after they beat them week 18 last season?
Yeah, back-to-back games with short weeks, which isn't great for the Jets. So if you're looking at this through the lens of where could they trip up, you would make the case of, okay, they play on Monday, and then it's a short week on the road in Tennessee, and then they have to come right back and then play at home against a divisional opponent in their home opener, so things could get weird. Dylan, if you're okay with it, I'd like to group the next 3 games together. I would like to talk about New England, Denver, and Minnesota all in one fell swoop, because I think there is one important thing that all 3 of these teams share in common. They are all more than likely going to be starting rookie quarterbacks when they face the New York Jets. I'm sorry, I'm not there. Listen, everybody knows QB1 for me in this draft class was Drake May. I like him. There's a lot of work that New England offense needs to undergo to give him reliable pass catchers and give him a reliable enough offensive system to where I think they can break through. So I think that's an easy win for the Jets. Zach Wilson revenge game, you can put that to the side. I am not believing in that. It's more than likely going to be Bo Nix. Again, I think the Jets get after it. I still think a couple years removed, the Sean Payton thing's probably going to bother a lot of people in that room. Guess what? You know who hasn't gotten his say on the Nathaniel Hackett revenge game? The guy wearing number 8 for the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had his say. And if you don't think he probably wants to drop 50 on Denver to say, oh, really? Hackett can't coach? So give me a win there as well. And in London, listen, Dylan, please stop giving wins to the other team. I'm giving wins to the Jets. Please fix that.
I'm doing it completely
and do not
wrong.
give wins to the teams, please.
Jeez.
Okay. And the last one in London against Minnesota, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's JJ McCarthy, it's a tough game because it's on the road. It's in London. I get that. Give me the Jets in that game too. JJ McCarthy might be starting by then. If not, Sam Darnold's not all that. So give me the Jets to rattle off 4 straight wins after dropping the opener against San Francisco.
So I know this isn't going to happen. And I know that they're most likely going to play 3 rookie quarterbacks in a row. But could you imagine a world where they played Zach Wilson and then Sam Darnold? Like, just whatever circumstances happen in those respective quarterback rooms.
Yeah.
I can't see it, but that'd be amazing.
They're gonna face some combination of the following 6 quarterbacks: Jacoby Brissett, Zach Wilson, Jared Stidham, Bo Nix, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold. None of that scares me. Not a single person that I listed there scares me. And listen,
although Jacoby did good against us last year.
Yes. And this is not the be all end all, but I look at quarterback play, and we're assuming Aaron Rodgers' health here, right? Like I'm not going to play the game of, Aaron Rodgers is going to miss like 2 games. I can't do that. We don't have that information. So this is assuming a healthy New York Jets team. It's the only way to do this. And to me, if that's the case, the New York Jets are stratospheres better than the Patriots and the Broncos. Now the Vikings, I think they have a lot of nice pieces, and they're trying to do a quick reset on the fly. They're not trying to do a full teardown and a rebuild. They're trying to kind of retool on the fly. And so they're better than those 2 teams, and I think they will give the Jets a more competitive game. But at the end of the day, I just think Rodgers and the Jets and the defense is just going to be too much.
Yeah, I think the Surtain versus Garrett Wilson matchup will be fun versus the Broncos, and then conversely, the Sauce versus Justin Jefferson matchup will be nice in that week. Regardless of who the quarterback is, it'll be a fun matchup there. All right, now we have our second divisional game of the season. We're at home against Buffalo. Again, another Monday night game. They're consistent with giving the Jets early prime time, just like they did last season. We know how it went last time when the Buffalo came to New York. Obviously, the walk-off with Xavier Gibson, but that was the game. Rodgers got hurt. What do you think here? This one was the first one where I stopped and I took a long pause before making my decision.
Yeah, here's what I want to do, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree with this. You are a you are a hardcore listener of the Draft Dudes podcast, so you already know what I'm going to say now that we have playoff predictors out. I think we just split these and we give the home team the win in each of the games, and then maybe we decide if we need to. Like, you can make an argument that are the Jets really going to rattle off 5 wins in a row, and so maybe we flip it. The Bills get one on the road, and then the Jets return the favor late in the season. If you want to do it that way, we can. But I think the right course of action when it comes to the Bills here this season is to split those divisional games, and however we want to do it from a schedule flow perspective, we can. But I think the right course of action would be to split the weeks, the week 6 and the week 17 games. And if you want to default to the home team wins the game, that's fine. If we want to do it the other way, that's okay with me.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the schedule, a 5-game win streak seems unlikely.
Right,
but
so I would flip it probably. I would probably just go the Bills get the win here, and then the Jets return the favor in week 17. And you still basically get to the same result anyway of they split the divisional games, but it makes you feel better of, are the New York Jets really going to rattle off 5 wins in a row? Like, as a Jets fan, that doesn't feel like something we're going to say. But we might, but I just don't feel like it.
There's a trap game or like a down game where like something's just not right with the offense or defense. There's going to be a game where like something happens and they play down to their competition.
And this feels like the perfect game to kind of reset the narrative, right? Because go with me on this journey. They lose to the 49ers, a good team in primetime. They rattle off 4 wins against subpar teams, and then they lose to the Bills. I can see the media the next day saying, oh, the Jets are just beating up on the bad teams. They're not hanging with the good teams. Right, they're not hanging with the good teams. Is this really a team that we should be taking seriously? Like, I can see those headlines and those discussions on Get Up and First Take and The Herd and all those shows, after week 6 and they lose to the Bills on Monday Night Football.
So when I did this on my own, I kind of was pretty on par. I had the Jets taking this one and then the Bills taking the other one because I did the home and home tactic. But I was so unsure where the next loss was like certainly going to come for the Jets until the bye week.
Oh, I got you. Don't worry, I got you.
So if you have a team in mind, I'm sure you're probably looking at week 9 against the Texans. But we'll start right here with the Steelers on Sunday night in Pittsburgh. I would just look at coaching in this one. Obviously, we have the quarterback advantage over Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Their defense is still pretty solid. Offense still lacks a couple pieces, but they're still, they got George Pickens. I like him. They have good bookend tackles now with Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. I'd still give it to the Jets, and they start getting back on the win column.
Yeah, here you wanted another loss. I found it for you. Give me the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, and you mentioned it you mentioned it at the beginning. Mike Tomlin's going to coach circles around Robert Saleh. Circles around. Circles. Mike Tomlin is a top. Let me. I don't want to overstate this too much, but I feel very strongly about this. Mike Tomlin is a top 5 coach in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tomlin gets too criticized. Mike Tomlin gets too criticized for never having a losing season because people say, oh, he just hovers around 500. Look at the rosters he has. Look at the post-Ben Roethlisberger era rosters that he has had in front of him, and the fact that he continues to pump out seasons where this team is competitive in a playoff race in weeks 16, 17, and 18. The man is one of the best coaches we have seen. And to me, it feels like they're going to get enough out of Russ to be able to be decent. And to me, I just feel like there is a coaching disadvantage in this game to the Jets, and it is lopsided to me. And so just on that alone, and I needed to find another loss, because if you don't, it gets really weird, and you start to get to a number for the Jets that I just don't feel comfortable getting to. And so this is one of the easy ones, I think, on the schedule. Because look, when you're doing this, you're not really trying to predict every game correctly. You're trying to get to a record that you feel is comfortable and you feel is within a decent range of outcomes. And I feel good because I have all the games listed out already on my other screen. I've made every prediction. I am at a number where I feel comfortable. I don't feel great, but I feel comfortable. And part of that is finding losses where you think the other team has a decent enough chance to beat the Jets. And I think the Steelers are one of those handful of teams that I think can beat the Jets.
Yeah, considering the game is in Pittsburgh, it definitely gives them a little bit of an edge. Pittsburgh is a hard place to play. But yeah, your point about Tomlin, I mean, Steelers fans in the middle of the season last year were, fire Tomlin. He's not doing what he needs to do. Like, he's finally lost it. And I don't use this barometer solely to like, project what I think a coach can do in the future. But if you fire a coach and he's immediately picked up for the same role, not like a backstep, like he wouldn't go back to being a DC like Robert Saleh might have to. Tomlin would get another head coaching gig right out the gates. Like Mike Vrabel, we see isn't even in the league. So we'll see how that goes for him. But I mean, Mike Tomlin would immediately be a head coach somewhere else in the NFL. So 16 years, never losing season. I will agree just for the optic of I want to get to a record again, like you said, that we're comfortable with. And if I did this and I came out with the most positive outcome, the Jets would have like 3 or 4 losses. And I don't think that that's realistic at all.
Yeah. And listen, again, if you think it's a different game on the schedule, that's fine. This is the one that felt very clear to me.
So I had obviously Houston, and we'll get to that in my reasoning why, but Pittsburgh would be the second on the list because I feel like we could actually potentially really beat up on some of these teams coming down the stretch before the bye. So I'm cool with Pittsburgh. All right, are we getting the brooms out, going to New England Sunday?
You get the brooms out, and they are dusting everything up. Like just give
We
me
love it.
Give me it all. Not this year. No Bill, no Tom. The team stinks. The Jets are a good team, a great roster. Give me the brooms. If you don't get the brooms out, what are we doing? If you don't get the brooms out against the Patriots this year, when they're basically down on the mat, what are we doing?
Yeah, this is a season where you not only need to sweep the Patriots, but you probably need a minimum of 4 wins in the division to have a chance, not only in the division itself, but at the 1 seed potentially in the conference. So yeah, get the brooms out against New England. Sorry, Bill. Sorry, Gerard Mayo too. I know you saw the story. That's a tough situation. So Jets are beating up on them now. We're going back home against Houston. This is the game that I thought we were going to lose. But I mean, it's not just because we, held CJ Stroud to 91 yards on 23 pass attempts last year. I know he also got hurt, but I feel like the Jets have it in them. D'Amico Ryans is a good coach. I feel like they're really, I don't want to say overhyped because they have a really good roster, but I feel like, at some point the rubber's got to meet the road, and I think the Texans are going to come a little bit back down to earth. Not so much like the Giants did, and I said the Giants were going to have a down year after making the playoffs the year before, but I think they're going to take a slight step back. So I think I have the Jets in this one, and they're starting a little mini win streak here again.
I think this could be a game the Jets lose. The thing that makes me feel good about it is it's at home. If it was in Houston, I think this is an easy candidate to pick for a win. And I just want to check something real quick. Yeah, the Texans play the week before on Sunday against the Colts. So they're the team that has to make the long travel and play on a short week. Like Houston to New York is not like that's not a quick journey. That's not a 90-minute flight. Like that's 3+ hours, 4 hours of travel. And so that would be the tiebreaker for me because I think Houston is going to be a good team next season. If this was reversed, give me Houston all day, but I will take the Jets in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Coming back to your home state, or I guess your current state. I shouldn't say home state.
I'll be there.
That's awesome. The Jets have a little bit of a mini bye, obviously coming off the Thursday night game in Houston against Houston. Again, this is a game where it could get a little lopsided. I'm not saying the Cardinals don't have what it takes to compete, but I just feel like the rosters are so imbalanced at this point that the Jets can really beat up and affect Kyler Murray in this game. And on the flip side, Aaron Rodgers could really put up a lot of points. It's in a dome. I like that for Aaron Rodgers. I feel like Rodgers in the dome is pretty solid. So I have the Jets again here on a win. So that's 3 in a row.
I like a lot of what the Cardinals are doing. I like a lot of the direction that they're going in. They're just not there yet. And the Jets are too good of a team, for this to be really a game to worry about if you're a Jets fan. And listen, Aaron Rodgers throws some Hail Marys inside that building. He's done it in the playoffs before, tossing up Hail Marys
Jeff Janis
at the end of games there at State Farm Stadium. But give me the Jets.
That game was absolutely wild. The way it ended with the sack fumble kicked up into the hands right into the end zone.
Okay,
51-45 was the final.
This game next on the schedule is a really challenging one because there are days where you can catch me and I could say, man, the Indianapolis Colts, I think they're going to be just a dark horse. They're going to be a sleeper team. Pay attention, like look out. And then there are days where I go, Anthony Richardson doesn't like finish games. Like he gets hurt all the time, and if he's not really on this team, what really are they? I love Michael Pittman Jr., but if they don't have a good enough quarterback play, like are they really going to be able to get by? And so it really depends on what day you get me. Today you've caught me on a day where I think the Colts are going to be good, and so I think this is an opportunity for the Jets to have another win streak get snapped, and they lose to the Colts after getting a decent win against Houston and then a decent road win against Arizona.
So, yeah, I think obviously assuming health for both teams, that makes the Colts a lot scarier. I don't know who their backup is at quarterback. Obviously, last year they had Gardner Minshew behind Richardson, and they called on him a lot, and he had to step in and finish a lot of games, then finish the season. So, barring health, I think this is a matchup that could be a toss-up. I feel like the Jets do struggle a little bit against running quarterbacks. Not entirely, but Richardson kind of gives you that flair. I'm okay giving it a loss. Again, we're trying to get to a comfortable record, not so much predict everything to be 100%. That puts the Jets at 8-4 going into the bye week. And my question to you is,
Okay.
for the Jets and you to feel comfortable about them in the AFC as a whole, going into the bye week, what is the worst record they can have to you, like for you to feel comfortable?
So up to this point, they will have played 11 games.
Yeah, we have them at technically. So we won against the Bills later on. So we're technically 7-4 at the bye week.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 wins is probably where you need to see this team. I think anything lower than that, and they're going to have to get after it in the second half of the season. And I'll tell you, that's going to be tough. It's not. There are patches of this second half schedule that present a little bit of a challenge to me. And so if you don't have some wins in the bank, and this is why I made so much about that week 2 through 5 schedule, you have to get a lot of wins against the Titans, Broncos, Patriots, and Vikings. You just have to. You have to stack them there because the schedule gets a little bit bouncy for this team where they're going to go on. We might win 2 and then lose 2, win 1, lose 1. It might be a little bit of a roller coaster after week 5.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think 7 is the number that makes me feel comfortable. 8 would be the magic number where it's like I feel really good at 8-3 going into the bye. And then anything other than that, I mean, you're playing with house money in the back end, which does get a little bit tougher. Obviously, coming out of the bye, we have the extended rest against the Seattle Seahawks, who are traveling across the entire country to come play in New York. I think this is a get-right game for the Jets before the actual difficulty of the back end starts. So I'm going to put them back in the win column.
Agreed 100%. Nothing more to be said there for me.
Awesome. Geno Smith again playing a potential former Jets quarterback there.
Now, there's going to be some arguments here.
Yeah, there's going to be arguments. I'm willing to do the home and home.
Oh, yeah. No. 100% the home and home.
Okay.
I was not concerned about this game being an argument. I was concerned about the next game being an argument.
The next game. Okay, so you are arguing that the Jaguars are going to win.
That is correct.
So
that is the position I want to take.
I want to argue that the Rams could win.
Okay. All right. You know what? Then that's fine. We can go with your path of beating the Jags and losing to the Rams. I think they trip up in one of these 2 games. That's fine.
Right. No, I certainly agree. They need to lose one of these games they would finish out at, let's just see.
It'd be 11-6.
11-6. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where I feel 100% comfortable.
Yes. And it's the higher end of my being comfortable. I think anything beyond 11 wins is taking this roster a step too far without having seen it yet. I mean, let's be honest. This team has not had a winning record the last couple of years. So to make that big leap of multiple wins, like we're talking 3, 4, 5 win improvement, that's a big step for a team that I still have question marks about. I like the team. I think they're going to be competitive as long as everything is healthy, but I'm just not there yet. So there have been versions of this where I get them to 10-7 because I have them trip up both against Jacksonville and the Rams. I sometimes have them trip up in one of those early games that they're on short rest for. Sometimes I have them trip up against a team like Seattle, Miami, potentially on a sweep situation. Like there are ways to get this team to 10-7, but I feel comfortable with 11-6.
Yeah, 10-6 would be, or 10-7, excuse me, would be my lower prediction. 11-6 would probably be that just right prediction. 12-5 for me is like, okay, one of these games, like the Colts or the Jaguar or the Rams, excuse me, we flip, or whatever it is, the Steelers we flip. But that's like my high end is 12-5, and you're still going 4-2 in the division. So I think that is comfortable with me there too. I think 5-1 is, doable. You could sweep either Miami or Buffalo, but 4-2 is where I feel comfortable, and 11-6 to me. You can win the AFC East at 11-6. Obviously, we're going to play it out and see what happens. You said you did every game on your own already, so I did it just before, and then refreshed the entire page, so I didn't remember it. So we're going to move on to the next team. Which team do you want to do next?
Doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at my final results here, and I'm looking at these records, and I'll be honest with you, I feel pretty good about it. So whatever team you want to do, I'm ready to defend my selections.
Let's do the Patriots because we'll keep the suspense for the.
This is the
end
easiest
of the
one to do. So this is
right. I agree.
Yeah.
You take it away. Steelers, Patriots, excuse me. Versus Eagles.
I mean, come on. Are the New England Patriots with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback going into Cincinnati and beating Joe Burrow in his return from an injury? Like, it's just not happening.
Right.
If it does, we need to have some serious conversations about what the Bengals are. Like,
no, for sure.
Not happening. Not happening.
All right. Up against Seattle at home.
We got to find the Patriots some wins.
Yes.
Because I'm here to tell you, spoiler alert, I don't have many.
Same. So I think they're dead last in the sports books at like 4.5 win over under.
All right. I'll spoil
They're with the Panthers.
I will spoil it for you. I get them to 3-14, and that's like the max I'm comfortable getting.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that's the max.
I don't even think you could twist my arm on a fourth.
All right,
it's that hard.
here's what I'll do. How about this? How about I just tell you the 3 games I think they win? By the way, I just made a terrible mistake here, so I need to. Never mind, they're 2-15. I picked the wrong team for a game. I picked them to beat the Chargers in Week 17, which is just not happening. So I have them at 2-15. I will tell you the 2 games I think they win, and you tell me if you want to go along with that or you want to convince me of some other games.
The 2 games that they win. Okay.
I have them beating the Patriots. I have them beating the Seahawks in Week 2.
Okay.
And hopefully we don't have a lot of these fans in the chat. I have an upset in Week 10. They go on the road and they beat Caleb Williams.
Okay, yes. So the Bears was the one that I said.
If you want to give them Tennessee in Week 9 instead, sure. You want to find a home game for them, sure.
So when I did it, I got to 3-14, and the third game that I did have them win was against the Titans. I had them beat the Titans and the Bears back-to-back. Just like you said, it was very hard to find these wins, and we're not saying the Patriots, that's their floor. It's like 3 games. Like, the bottom could just fall out. They have a rookie quarterback. There's not a lot of good pieces. I mean, their weapons are nice, but I don't know. They don't round out a receiver room nice. I like a lot of their pieces like Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, but I don't know. It's like one of those, you have to see it to believe it. But yeah, 3 is where I'm at. If you want to stick with 2, we can stick with 2 and really piss off every Patriots fan.
No, that's fine. I'm good with 2 or 3. It doesn't really matter to me. I originally had 3, but had a wrong game in there, so 3 is okay with me. I have them going 0-6 in the division, which is a bit of a choice. But I'm sorry. I'm not in on this team this year. I'm just not.
No, I don't. I mean, if they get lucky, they could beat somebody, or like the Bills rest somebody in Week 18. I don't know. Like,
speaking of the Bills, can we do them next?
Yeah, we could do the Bills next.
Because I don't think a team. Somebody might be able to present a case. I have not broken down every schedule in depth. I don't know if there's a harder schedule to start a year than the first 6 weeks for the Buffalo Bills.
That is tough.
Look at those. The Cardinals at home in Week 1 is as much of a gimme as you can get. But after that, look at that schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's rough. I mean, when I did it, I had them, I think they were like 3-3 to start the season, maybe even 2-4. I think they might have even been 2-4 when I did it.
I have 3-3, and it's for me. It's win against the Cardinals, loss against the Dolphins, win against the Jags, 2 straight losses on the road to Baltimore and Houston, and then they obviously beat the Jets. We've already made that pick, and that gets them to 3-3.
Yeah. So when I did it, I had the Jets winning, and I didn't realize that I had the Bills. That's how I got the Bills to 2-4, not 3-3, because I flipped these when I did the predictions. So then they're going to go. I mean, Tennessee can they compete? I mean, they beat the Patriots, but like, are they going to beat any other team in the East?
And I watched Tennessee beat the Dolphins on, what was that, Monday Night Football with Will Levis? I am familiar. I remember seeing it.
I don't remember that game, to be
That
honest.
felt like a very unique situation. You don't remember that game?
No,
it was
dude.
It was a Monday night, like late in the season. The game didn't matter. They had just given it over to Will Levis. They were down like a bajillion. It was like 29-8 or something. And the Titans made an incredible comeback in the fourth quarter. I have to find the box score from this game just so you can relive it.
Well, that's going to be dicey when we do the Dolphins then. So we have Buffalo beating the Titans, Buffalo beating the Seahawks.
Buffalo beating the Seahawks feels like what I have.
Okay.
No, that is incorrect.
You have the Seahawks winning.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Do you feel strongly about it? Because I don't. So if you want to go Bills win, I'm good with that.
What's their current record? They're 6. We'll leave it go, and we'll see what their record looks like at the final. Do you have them getting swept by Miami?
Do I have them getting swept by Miami? I
Or
do
did
not.
You do
I have the draft dude special of split the divisional games.
Awesome. Okay. Against Anthony Richardson on the road.
I have the Bills winning that game because
the Bills. Yeah, that's how
there's some losses incoming that we needed to protect against. So
and then I had the Bills losing the next 3 out of their next 4.
Okay, hold on. It's the Rams. Oh, 3 of the next 4. So you have them losing to the Chiefs, the 49ers, and the Lions?
Yes.
100% in agreement. 100%.
Yes. I almost said the next 3, but I realized the Lions were after the Rams. But yes, 3 out of their next 4.
And then I have them, and then we already did these divisional games.
We did these last 3. So the Bills are 9-7.
So
Jets are 11-6.
You missed the game.
Yes, we have to decide. Do we want the Bills to have 10 wins? I feel like 10 wins seems right.
I had them at 9-8, but if you want to get them to 10, I'm not against that, and so we can go to.
Yeah, I think 10-7 feels right. Gives that week 18, week 17 a little bit more juice to it as well.
So now we have to do the Dolphins, but my wireless mouse died. So while you set up the Dolphins and you start talking, I have to go get the cord to be able to fix the mouse. So I will be right back.
Not a problem. So I think this was 3 weeks ago now. Chat, you might remember, Glenn and I did roster rankings for the entire division. We each had the Jets as the highest ranked teams in the division. I had Miami as number 2. I believe Glenn had Buffalo as number 2. So I do think that there's a fair amount of wins to come on the schedule. I'm not quite sure what Chris had written down. If you remember, even back to last year, Chris and I did the ranking series, and he had the Dolphins as his number 1 roster entering the 2023 season. I'm not sure if he did his own roster rankings and decided if the Dolphins were number 1 again. Maybe we can ask him when he gets back as he leaves the stream there. But yeah, I think I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but I think there's going to be quite a lot of wins here. Hopefully we can get Chris back in a minute. Greg in the chat says, we will stomp CJ Stroud. I think after last year, you have to feel confident about that for sure. I think he was 10 for 23, 91 yards, suffered an injury. I mean, the Jets just made him look pedestrian, even though he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So you would hope to see that repeats. Obviously, the Texans are a good team. Are they more hype or are they more performance? We'll see. Looks like we have Chris back. Let's add him. All right, Chris. So while you're gone, I was talking about how last year we did our rankings, and this year Glenn and I did our divisional rankings, going position by position. Last year you had the Dolphins as your number 1 team in the division. You did not share if that is the case this year for 2024, but and there he goes again. He must still be fixing something. All right, let's see what we got in the chat again. Greg says, love to beat the Steelers. Let's go Jets. Yeah, when I did my prediction, I had them beating the Steelers. The fact that Chris had them as a loss, I was willing to, compromise. I'm not really going to fight over some, record prediction number. I think we're going to get close to the number that we all wanted. 11-6 was the number I have for the Jets circled when the schedule dropped. Chris is giving me the thumbs up now that he's ready.
You unplug one cord on the computer and just everything just goes sideways. You just want to change one cord out and just make sure you're able to use your mouse. And now I lost my keyboard. The camera went down. You can't have anything nice in this world. Nope.
Technology has us, and we really have to like pander to it and like make sure it's exactly how it needs to be. And you don't test things live on air.
No, it's the worst thing to do. And I'm the king of like, nah, we'll just do it live. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
All right. So I was explaining that last year we did our rankings. We both came away with the Dolphins as your number one team. I had the Bills. This year, do you feel the same way as the Dolphins having the best roster in the division? Glenn and I did it, and I had the Jets, and so did he. I had Dolphins as 2. He had Bills as 2. Where do you stand on that?
Yep, I think it's closer than it was last year when I had the divide, but I still think until further notice, I would go Dolphins 1, Jets 2, but it's closer. It's closer than it was last year. I think there was a bigger gap in my mind between the Dolphins and the Jets. I think that gap has closed, especially because of what the Jets were able to do on the offensive line. But I still think just the stability that the Dolphins have at a lot of key positions is really nice for them entering this season. But you had the Jets 1, Dolphins 2, zero issue with that. I think last year I was really hesitant of the idea of having the Jets with the best roster in the AFC, and I pushed back on some positional rankings when we did them individually. But no, I have zero issue with whatever order. The Bills, too, I have a problem with. So the next time I talk to Glenn, I'll have to just have him explain that to me, how he has the Bills with the second best roster in the AFC East.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now just so I can be completely correct. All right, yeah, last year you had Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Pats. I had Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Pats. And then this year I had Jets, Dolphins, Bills, Pats. Yep. And he had Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Pats. Yeah. So he had Bills as number 2 and Dolphins as number 3. The gap between the Bills and the Dolphins was much slimmer than the gap between the Bills and the Jets for him. And for me, the same goes. The Dolphins slightly beat out the Bills.
Yeah, I think this currently, as it stands, in my opinion, is a 2-team race in the AFC East. I think the Bills took a massive step back by trading Stephon Diggs and to have the receiving core that they have. Now, they have number 17. I'm never going to count them out. They have a chance. But I think morale-wise, they have to be beaten. Like, they have to have hit rock bottom as a team to where there must be people in that building in quiet moments that think, can we do this? And the moment that thought enters your thought process, it's over. It is over. It is over for your window with your current group. Now, are they going to be a good team? Yeah, we have them going 10-7. And if a break or two goes their way, we're talking about a 12-win team. So listen, let's not say that the Bills are going to be picking inside the top 10. They're not the Patriots. But I do think they have taken a big step back from where they were a year ago. But for the Dolphins, who we're making picks for now, we have them at 4-2 before we even do anything.
Yeah, and obviously they're all in the division, but that's really good to be 4-2 in the division. All the top teams.
This is the product of splitting with everybody and then beating up on the Patriots. Is everybody gets to 4-2?
Yeah, exactly. So first game of their season, home opener against
little
state rival,
little Florida championship action here.
Yeah, this is gonna have some college football vibes to me. I don't know why. Week 1, it's just gonna like Trevor versus Tua. Something about it just gives me college football vibes. I really was so split on this one. Like I'm not trying to be a hater on the Dolphins. I can see the Jaguars winning this game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins opened up with a little win streak here.
I have a big win streak for the Dolphins to start the year. I have them not losing a game between the first week of the season and their bye week. I mean, look at that schedule. I think they can beat the Bills at home on a short week. I think they're at home against the Jags in week 1. They're going to be super prepared. And then Seahawks, Titans, Patriots. Like, I'm sorry, man, this Dolphins team, we're going to be having another conversation early in the year of Tua MVP. Are the Dolphins for real? Like, the schedule sets up for us to have that same conversation that we had last year.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. The Dolphins, the Jags and the Bills would be the 2 games where they could suffer a loss the most, but Seahawks, Titans, Patriots is a really nice stretch to enter the bye with. You come out of it and it doesn't really get that much harder. Obviously, we talked up the Colts a little bit before, but they're on a longer week. So I'm going to keep going with the Dolphins here. And I'm
found
going
it.
to
Hold
speak.
on. Oh, I found it. This is what caused the mouse to go
Oh,
down in the
okay.
first place. I found it. December. Hold on.
Oh, you found the box score.
December 11th. So middle of December, Monday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes and 34 seconds to go had a 27-13 lead. They lost the game 28-27 against the Tennessee Titans at home. They were at home.
Okay, now I do remember this game.
With a 14-point lead.
Yeah. Will Levis, yes.
Will
I
Levis,
do
baby.
remember this. Did he start the game or did he come in?
I think he started the game. He did. He started the game, went 23 of 38, 327 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Derrick Henry, the most Derrick Henry of stat lines. 17 carries, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yep.
DeAndre Hopkins, 7 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, just targeting D-Hop the whole time.
He had 12 targets. 12 targets.
Of 38 pass attempts. That's not bad. 30% target share.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are you a big basketball fan?
I'm not a big basketball fan, but I follow storylines and I'm up to date.
Are you a Knicks fan?
No.
Okay, because right now, as we are doing this show, SmackDown is going on in Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
And Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton are getting into it on the show. Obviously, as part of the storyline. It's not like a real thing, but it is the crowd is going nuts apparently at Madison Square Garden for this.
That's awesome.
It's very cool. Yes.
I like that. I'm not a watcher, a follower of the WWE anymore, but I like when they do that stuff with like athletes. I know Pat McAfee's been on. They've been really infusing a lot of athletes lately, so I like to see that. All right. Are we keeping this win train going for the Dolphins?
We are not. The win train stops in week 7, baby. The Colts get a win at home. You have to find a sneaky one. You have to find a trap door, and this is the trap door. I was going to
say, if they started with, a win here and went 6-0, I would have pushed back and be like, all right, they need to drop the Cardinals and then the Bills also. Like, they need to come back down to earth.
No, and so we find it here against the Colts, even though they're coming off the bye. It's a road game. Indy might have Anthony Richardson just we're moving 7 weeks into the season. We're feeling good. The offense is rolling, and they catch Miami and they smack them around and say, remember, we're still here.
Yeah. Daniel in the chat says Dolphins have a talented roster.
They have the most talented roster in the AFC East, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Jets are see it or believe it when you see it mode, but yeah, I mean, you can't really argue. Their pass rush is just so scary. All right, moving on. LA. I know I had the Rams beating a couple teams in the division here.
We just calling week 8 a tie?
Oh, did I skip the Cardinals? Oh, because we talked about it, but I didn't click it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just making sure.
The Rams, I mean, the Rams are not a easy out Monday night in LA, so the Dolphins have to travel. I'm okay giving the Dolphins a loss here because I feel like there's not many more coming.
You want to give them a loss here?
Yes.
What if we already have a Jets loss to end the season.
Yes.
What if I told you that besides that Jet loss, I find 3 other losses for the Dolphins?
Not being the Rams.
Not including the Rams game, yeah.
Okay.
Would you be okay with that?
Yes, but doing the math, no. But yes, we can do it that way.
Because it's going to tie them. They're both going to be 11.
It's going to tie.
And I'm sorry, that's how comfortable I feel.
Okay? Exactly. No, I agree. And this would be the game that would turn everything on its head if they lost this because
right. I think that
even though it's an NFC and it doesn't really matter because out of conference, it does matter in the grand scheme of things when we do it this way. But I'm willing to do that. Yeah. So Dolphins, Packers, Texans, Niners, Dolphins.
Yep, that's exactly how I have it breaking down. I think the important thing to note about that Week 13 game against the Packers, it is a short week. It is Thursday Night Football, and hover over that Thursday and read me the date.
November 28th.
Tua and the Dolphins are going to go to a cold weather environment in November against a good Green Bay Packer Jordan Love team on Thursday night and beat them? Absolutely not. It's not
And then look at this one. December 29th at 8:20 p.m. They're going to Cleveland.
Right. So that could be a loss. We do have it as a win. And so I think if you're looking, that could be the difference. Those types of cold weather environments. Now, it's not going to be as cold as it was for the Kansas City playoff game, but it's going to be cold.
I think when I did it in my prediction, I either had them losing to the Rams, because I had them losing to the Browns, but I might have given them a win. Oh, against the Colts. That's what happened. So we're right there with our record. We just had a different game here and there that we gave them as their loss. So yeah, that puts the Jets and Dolphins at 11-6, the Bills right behind at 10-7, the Patriots at 3-14 now. Predictively, this has the Jets as the number one team in the division. I don't know.
Technically, it has the Dolphins missing the playoffs, but that's just because we haven't predicted every game, and teams have better winning percentages. So please do not screenshot that and say, "Oh, the JetNation guys have the Dolphins winning 11 games and missing the playoffs." Like, please.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to ask, seeing how this stacks up, could there be a chance where 3 teams in our division make the playoffs?
It would require us to predict every game on the NFL schedule, and listen, it's JetNation After Dark, but it's not super JetNation After Dark.
It's not until the light comes out.
Right. It's not After Dark until the sun comes up, because we'll be here debating games. You were worried we weren't going to get it in. We got it in 45 minutes, and I had a technical issue.
We were done with the Jets after 20, and I was like, all right, this might be a... But it gets easier because you're taking more games
off the board, right? There's less games to pick. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier. But this feels right. Like, to me, it is going to be, if everything goes according to plan, it is going to be the Jets and Dolphins for this division. The Bills are going to be right there in the mix, and then there's the Patriots. Like, that's how the division feels to me. And if you ordered it Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots, I would say yes. If you ordered it Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Patriots, I would say yeah, sure, I can believe that too. Like, any configuration of this that includes the Patriots being fourth, I can agree with. If you have the Patriots anywhere other than fourth, then I think you've lost your mind.
So I know we don't have the rest of the conference predicted, but does this just assume tiebreaker would go to the Jets, or is it just because?
Well, I forget what the first tiebreaker is after division. I think it's common opponents, and so since we did both schedules, we'd have to do all the schedules, I think, to truly. That's what I was. I think if we did it all, it could very easily flip to where the Dolphins are the 1 seed or the division winner. So don't read too much into that. Just the takeaway is the Dolphins and the Jets. If everything goes according to plan, it is going to be a battle to win the division.
Yeah, and looking back at the Jets schedule once again, Jets at Buffalo week 17, Dolphins at Jets week 18. Those 2 matchups. I mean, if we get, let's just say 80% of these first 16 weeks correct, those 2 weeks are going to mean everything. To the season for all 4 teams, really. I mean, obviously we assume Patriots are playing for a draft pick. Buffalo, they're playing, to keep their dynasty alive. And Miami, they want to prove that they can win a playoff game for the first time in you and me's lifetime, basically. Yeah. So the Jets are trying to break the streak, I think, at 11-6, regardless if you end up as the first team or second team in the division, you're going to make it. So whether it's us or Miami as the wild card, I'm happy with that. I think the Jets make it regardless. All right.
Yeah, I think this is going to be there's a risk associated with this, but I just think this is going to be a fun year. Like, I just think it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be stressful, but it's going to be stressful because it's going to be fun. Like, the games are going to matter. Like, I think last year there were times where the games were stressful because we were trying to convince ourselves that there was this weird path where they could do it. And there kind of was, because they kind of just randomly play. Like, after the Eagles game, like, I thought anything was on the table, because after they beat the Eagles the way they did, I'm like, they could just smoke and mirrors their way to enough wins. And that kind of stress where the team isn't really good, but they just find ways, that kind of stress wasn't fun. But stress when it's Aaron Rodgers going toe-to-toe every week with whatever the Miami Dolphins are doing, and it's like an arms race, and we're talking about teams that are winning double-digit games, that's fun. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Jets fan. You hear it all around sports media. NFL is better when the Jets are good. For whatever reason it is. It's like some kind of juju in the air. When the Jets are better, the NFL, it just seems to be a better season. So let's just hope for health, honestly, across the board. Like, after seeing the response to the Aaron Rodgers injuries, like, from other teams' fans, I just, like, I've never wished like an injury on a player that badly. And the Tua injuries still are like burned into my brain that, like, I will never ever look at an injury and be like happy about it, even if it favors the Jets. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. So hoping health for all the teams in the division and the league, obviously. But all right, any final thoughts on the schedule before I give you a couple questions before you head out?
No, I think I think what we accomplished there was what we set out to do, and I think it showcased how precarious each week is going to be in the AFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. Every week is going to be vital. Storylines are going to be a roller coaster. Every loss, I mean, it's not going to be like losses in the past where we come up here on whatever day of the week it is after a loss and we're just like, do we even want to talk about the damn game? Like, we'll
Right.
just talk about whatever happened and then
5
preview the
prospects
next
that we like,
game.
yeah.
And then, yeah, 25 minutes of draft prospects. Like, that's not going to be the case. Even when they lose a game, it's going to be like, what is the good we can take from it? Because there's going to be good. Like, the
Yeah.
Jets could get their doors blown off in a game, and, like, that's bad. But I don't think that's going to be the case very often this season. And it could be the opposite, where, like, you have a 31-10 lead, and perhaps Tyrod Taylor's getting snaps in the fourth quarter of some of these games. So it's going to be interesting for sure. All right. I don't want to throw up the thing because I don't want to stop sharing my screen and then start sharing my screen again and have something go wrong. But I had Glenn's tweet up here from before. This is a couple days ago. This is a question he wanted to talk about. I'm sure in his solo video he touched on it, but it is the status of one running back 4 on the depth chart, and that is Izzy Abanikanda. He put out a poll 2 days ago now that says, simple question, Jets fans. Do you believe Izzy Abanikanda makes the 53-man roster after the Jets used 2 draft picks on running backs? The overwhelming majority, 86%, said no. I was in the no camp. I think at this point, the writing has been on the wall for him with the drafting of 2 other running backs, the signing of Tariq Cohen. Perhaps he, gains a role on special teams, but do you think there is a path for Izzy Abanikanda to make the 53?
Oh, sure. There's a path. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody doesn't perform well. I mean, there's always a path if you're going to be given opportunities. It just feels like an uphill battle. It feels like the New York Jets saw Izzy Abanikanda in his rookie season, saw him at practice, saw him in the limited game snaps that he got, and felt this is a place we need to upgrade and we need to do it immediately. And then spent 2 of their limited draft capital on running backs. They signed a guy who hasn't played in a couple of seasons. Now, again, I think that's in large part because of the new kickoff rules and they think he can be an asset there. But at the end of the day, they added somebody to that room. It just feels like he is going to be the odd man out because I do not see this team making 2 selections in the draft for 2 running backs and then those guys not making the team. It's just not happening. And so I think Izzy is the odd man out. Do I think he catches on somewhere else? Probably. But I do not think there is a greater than 50% chance that Izzy Abanikanda makes this final roster.
Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that you still have Nick Bawden hanging around, you don't know exactly what they're going to do with their tight ends. Are they going to actually use Ruckert as a fullback? Because if they designate a role for Nick Bawden, that's Izzy's spot, in my opinion.
Right.
You're probably going into the season with your 3 backs. You're going to try to practice squad Izzy. The one thing I will say is, could they get a little, cute and have Brees, Braylon, Isaiah Davis, and then Tariq Cohen kicks in as like your special teams only type player. You don't even designate him as a running back. He never comes in on offense, and then you don't carry a guy like Irv Charles. That's the one thing that I think about, and they can carry 4 running backs and still not be Izzy. But then again, it's with Nick Bawden. So if they don't want to keep Nick Bawden, I think that opens the door for Izzy a little bit more. But I don't know. I feel like the amount of 21 personnel Aaron Rodgers likes, whether it's 2 true running backs or a fullback and a running back, we're going to see enough of Nick Bawden to maybe keep him around, or at least just use Jeremy Ruckert, for Christ's sake, in the H-back role.
And listen, Izzy can go out there and he can take it, right? If he goes out there and has a monster camp and makes the decision really difficult for Joe, that's great. That's a great problem for Joe Douglas to have. But it just feels like the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, though, in like his defense is, if Brees Hall were to miss time, Izzy is the closest of running style to Brees in terms of like speed, cutting ability. Obviously, Braylon and Isaiah are looked at as more as like bruiser backs, getting the tough yards. They can still spring long runs, but I don't know. I feel like those 2 rookies are more of the same mold, whereas Brees and Izzy are of the same mold. So obviously everything relies on Brees and it trickles down from there. And I don't think there's enough food on the plate left for Izzy at this point.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, the other question I had, going from a crowded room, so to speak, to a not so crowded room, is the defensive tackle room. Obviously, I know the D line room is what they consider the whole, but defensive tackle specifically, the top line guys, obviously Quinnen and Javon Kinlaw, that looks good on paper. Obviously, Kinlaw, expectations are kind of up in the air with him. A lot of Jets fans are like, why did we give him $6.5 million or whatever it was guaranteed? But then others, maybe like me, are a little bit more optimistic that they can unlock something in him, kind of like Quentin Jefferson last year. Not really worried about who's next to Quinnen, so to speak, but Kinlaw is a fine person there. And then Lecky Fotu, Solomon Thomas, and then you have a bunch of practice squad guys, Tanzel, Bruce Hector, Leonard Taylor the third. Do you think that they need to upgrade? I know Sports Illustrated put out one about signing pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue, but that's more of an edge guy, obviously. So do you think they need to upgrade the D line at all, but more specifically defensive tackle?
Yeah, upgrade. When you say it out loud, it's like, oh, the Jets have to go out and get somebody who can compete to be an all-pro and be a Pro Bowler and go out there. Like,
Yeah,
no. Like, we're
no,
talking about on the margins when we talk about upgrading. And I think the answer to that is yes. While I think the Jets have a very good group, with the way that they rotate and the way that they want to maneuver guys in and out, I still think they need somebody on the interior. I still think they need a little help stopping the run on the interior of this defensive line. Now, again, it doesn't have to be somebody who's a superstar. They don't have to be a stud. They just have to be a solid veteran who adds depth to this group. And so, to me, the short answer is yes. If they don't do it, am I all of a sudden going to go back to playoff predictors and say, "Oh, change the Jets to 3 wins"? No, I'm not going to do that. But I do think it is something that they should address.
Yeah, and just looking at the sheer numbers of trying to get to 53, this is with me assuming that they find a way to get 10 offensive linemen on the 53-man roster. Joe Douglas has already said, I'm not going into a season without 10 again after what happened last year. So if you have 10 on the offensive line, you just simply can't have 10 again on the defensive line, because 20 out of 53 roster spots for your trenches is, it's nice to have, but it's not realistic. It's not feasible.
It's a little
So
overkill. It's a little overkill.
yes. So I'm looking at 4 edge players: Jermaine, Clemens, Hassan, and Will. Those are your 4 edge. And then your 4 interior as Quinnen, Kinlaw, Fotu, Thomas. I'm giving you one more spot, and you can pick from Eric Watts, Tanzel Smart, Leonard Taylor III, or Braden McGregor.
Tanzel Smart. It's
My
probably
guy.
where
It's
I
got
would
to be
fall.
Tanzel, right? I
Him,
think.
him or Taylor.
Yeah.
I think it's him or Taylor of that group that you just outlined. I do think, considering that those are my 2 top options, I do think they'll look externally. Like, I do
Yes.
think they'll look to see if they can find somebody better than those 2. But considering the options you just gave me, then I would go Tanzel Smart and then Leonard Taylor at the second spot. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think you have to prioritize interior. And then I just went based on, I know Tanzel was a practice squad guy last year, but I look at the UDFA guys, and those are probably more likely to become practice squad guys that are going to clear waivers and make it back to the team. Obviously, I would just rather not risk it with Tanzel. We've seen it happen before where guys get poached. So Tanzel's not a guy I want to see get poached. He did have that one preseason, I think it was 2 years ago, when him and Michael Clemens just wreaked havoc in the third and fourth quarters of games. So I think he has the potential to be a viable option, and he probably isn't much worse. I wouldn't even say worse than a guy like Lecky Fotu, to be honest.
Again, it is one of the areas on the defense that I think is an area that they can marginally upgrade. I still think safety is a bigger concern. Safety is
Mm-hmm.
something that I would address with a little bit more urgency than the interior defensive line, but it is something to keep an eye on. And if there's one thing that Joe Douglas, I think, is really good at, it is addressing these on the margins type moves that can increase the floor of a group. And so I think he will be paying very close attention to this market to see if he can upgrade somewhere.
Yeah, I think obviously there's a couple like extreme misses, but Joe Douglas likes to find those late, summer ads where if everything doesn't work out well, it's still a marginal upgrade, but then it has a high potential, like you said, to really move the needle for the team. So, all right. Anything else before we get on out of here? Any topics that you had that you wanted to bring up?
Real quick, I'll make this like a closing speech here. I
Sure.
think at some point we should have this conversation on the podcast. We probably should let a little bit more time pass, but let's just keep an eye on the Hassan Reddick situation. I don't think it is a problem right now. I know it's not a good look. I know him not being at OTAs and not being at mandatory minicamp is not a good look. But I will continue to say I do not see a scenario where Hassan Reddick is not playing for the Jets on week 1 of the regular season. If that starts to get to a place where that is in jeopardy, then yes, let's have some serious conversations of what happened here, who made the mistake, what the Jets told Hassan Reddick, what Hassan Reddick told the Jets, who lied to who, and how did we get into this mess? We can have those conversations. But right now, I unfortunately think you just got to let it play out because this stuff happens with everybody every offseason.
Yeah. And I think that's why Sports Illustrated wrote the piece about the Jets should sign Yannick Ngakoue, because if, shit hits the fan and Hassan isn't, actually planning on coming to play for the Jets without a new deal, then you have insurance in Ngakoue, who definitely regressed in 2023 versus 2022. But on the off chance that, you end up having all 5 of those edge rushers in the same room, that would just, like we said, just increase the potential that much more. So
The floor.
I'm
Just
not.
increase the floor.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you want to see that gets ironed out before camp starts. I don't want to see the first week we're not seeing any practice film. We're just all hearing about Hassan Reddick or whatever Aaron Rodgers is talking about outside of football. So that's the one storyline I think Jets fans do need to watch. So good for you to call that one out. All right. I appreciate everybody. We just hit over the hour mark. We're going to head on out of here. Hopefully next week we'll have Glenn back. Not quite sure what we're doing because we're officially in the season of let's not get arrested or doing anything stupid before camp comes back. Sorry, Tay Hayes. We'll roll one up for you there. But all right. We appreciate everybody for checking us out on a late night Friday edition. Hope everybody has a good weekend. You know where to follow us at Chris Schubert _ at D Terman. Also, at JetNation on all social media platforms. Everybody have a good night, and let's go Jets.